We're really excited today to talk to you about our avocado quality meter, some new features that are going to be on the device available for everyone. And we are really excited to kind of do a from the top to the very bottom holistic kind of approach to training everyone, if you already have a meter, even if you don't, exactly how this meter would be used. So first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Galen. I'm the Director of Applied Science here at Felix Instruments. I've been with the company for about 3 years now. I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry and a master's degree in food science from Michigan State University. I am an IFT certified food scientist, and I have a lot of experience previously with food quality and safety testing and assessment in the processed food, food manufacturing, agriculture, and cannabis industries. So as I mentioned, today's webinar, today's training is all about teaching you, the user, exactly how to best utilize this device, everything from what comes in the box when you purchase a quality meter, all the way through to what is going to be, how you're going to analyze your data, what's going to be the actual data you view on your computer. Then we're also even going to talk about some troubleshooting stuff as well, some basic troubleshooting advice for the user. But first, I kind of want to talk about, for those of you who don't already have one of these units, just some basics about what the meter is and who's using it and some applications. So the avocado quality meter is a non-destructive dry matter instrument. So what it does is it measures the dry matter within the avocado non-destructively by sending light in the near infrared spectrum into the avocado and having it diffuse reflectance back into the detector. And what it does is it runs that spectra through an algorithm, and it predicts the dry matter content within the flesh of the avocado. This allows you to monitor either your maturity in the field or the quality of your avocados when you're importing them throughout their storage time at different points throughout the supply chain. So there's a lot of different applications for when you can use this instrument. A lot of people like to utilize it out in the field to track certain orchards and know exactly when to time their harvest. As I mentioned, some people are using it in their quality labs when they are doing import assessment or when they're just simply checking the quality of their avocados as they ripen or throughout storage time. And lastly, we even have endpoint retail users that are using them to assess the quality of the fruit before they put it out on the shelves for the end consumer. The avocado quality meter measures dry matter in a range from approximately 14% dry matter to 40% dry matter. So it works for the very immature fruit all the way to some pretty ripe fruit. So you're pretty safe in there to have exactly the dry matter readings that you're going to need, whether it be in the field or in those later post-harvest applications. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started with an unboxing. I'm going to actually open a fresh new instrument for you guys, show you all the components, explain everything that's in the box, and then we're going to go ahead and get started diving into the instrument itself. I'll show you just a straight run through of the operation, and then we'll kind of work our way backwards and go through all of the menus, talk about how to access everything you need to access and alter any menus that you want to alter, any sort of settings within the device. Then I'm going to show you how to access your data on the computer, and also how to manipulate that, and also how to update your instrument if you need to. So we are providing updates on a regular basis, and so what I'm showing you today is actually going to be available to our customers here soon in the near future. So all these new menu features that you might see are going to be applicable to you once we get this update out and available for you to download off our website. At the end, we'll go over the troubleshooting, as I mentioned, and then I'll talk to you about how to find additional support. If you have specific support questions in today's webinar about your device, please use our actual support portal on our website to send us those. If you have more general questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A section. The comment section will not be monitored for questions, so please use the Q&A function. Do not use the chat function for any questions. Keep the chat function solely for any links that our moderator is going to be posting as far as how to get a quote, if you need to get a quote, or other relevant information. The Q&A function is where I would like you to put your questions. That's where I will be looking at the end of this session in order to ensure that you get the questions answered by me. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera, and we're going to get started with our unboxing. So when you receive your F-751 Avocado Quality Meter, it's going to be in this black soft case with our Felix Instrument brand on it. When I open this up, there's going to be several different components in here. The first one you'll notice is your actual avocado quality meter, the instrument itself here on the left, and then you'll see a couple other accessories here on the right. So you'll have a spare set of rechargeable lithium-ion batteries. You'll have your actual battery charger. So this is where you can recharge your lithium-ion batteries, as well as the plug adapter to operate that battery recharger. This is a coring tool. So in the instance where you need to perform a calibration on your instrument, this is a tool that can be used to actually core out samples from an avocado to do destructive testing after you've scanned the avocado with the device. So this is a useful tool for your analytical lab testing if a calibration is necessary. Additionally, on the top part of the case here, in this mesh bag, you'll see a USB to USB mini cable, and that's going to come in handy if we ever need to update the firmware on the device. It's not a charging cable, it's simply for updating that firmware whenever we have major upgrades to that firmware. We also have a lens cloth. This is simply just to ensure that your lens is clean on your device as well as the screen itself. And lastly, we have our actual physical manual. The manual is also available on the website as well. So if you lose your physical copy or you need to provide a copy to someone else that isn't necessarily in your location, then you can always direct them to our website where they can download the manual as well. So now I'm going to remove the F-751 from the case and show you a little bit more about the actual device itself. The top and bottom rubber bumpers on the device can be removed, and those reveal a couple key features. So when I remove the top bumper of the device, simply by pulling it off, you'll see that there's the USB mini port. That's for updating the firmware. This is the SD card slot. So this is where the data is stored, as well as where the applications live if you need to update your application with the models on it. And so that is where all that is hosted on this SD card. This is the lens where the actual measurement takes place. So to put that bumper back on, you just simply place it back on, stretch it back over the edge, and it snaps back on. The bottom bumper can be removed to reveal where the batteries live. So if you need to replace your batteries, you simply need to twist this off. The batteries live in here. You can remove them, replace them, and then simply put the battery holder back on there. And then the last part of it on the device, actually, that I wanted to show you was also on the bottom, is there's like a threaded hole here that can be used for doing any sort of, if you have like a camera holder or like a tripod, then you can absolutely use that as well. And it might be easier to hold it out in the field that way if you're going to be out in the field for an extended period of time. So what we can do now is I can actually go and grab an avocado, and we can do some experiments that show exactly how we would do the operation of this device. So if I turn the instrument on, it's going to take a couple seconds here to power up, initialize all the application itself, we're at this home screen here. And at this home screen, actually, I'm going to lower this a little bit more here. At this home screen, there's two options that the instrument provides for you. There is press measure to record a measurement, or press the right arrow to view the main menu. Now, if I were to simply press the measurement button with no other context, if I just were to press this, it's going to prompt me with an error message that says no bin has been selected. And it says at the bottom left, press right to continue. So if I were to press right, oh, I accidentally clicked it twice. If I were to press right, it would take me to this screen that says create a new bin, or I could select a previously used bin. Now, if I were to go back to the left, all the way back to this screen, say I didn't press that measurement button right away, say I clicked the right arrow, I would then be in this menu called app. There's an app menu and device options, and I would press the right arrow to access the app menu. From here, I can also do the select bin. So I would select my bin from this screen as well. So you can either press the measurement button right away or press the right arrow to get to this screen. Now I can create a new bin, which is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to create a bin. I'm going to call it bin 1. Even though there is already a bin 1, let's see what happens. If I click the right arrow, it's going to tell me that bin 1 already exists. So I'm going to call this bin 2. Now it's going to ask me for the number of fruit for this bin. I'm going to say there's only 2 fruit. Oh, left arrow to delete. So left arrow deletes, right arrow moves forward. So 2 fruit in this bin. This means that in this, and what a bin is just a categorization. It's just a grouping of fruit. So a bin can be anything from a whole orchard to a certain row to a certain tree to a certain lot of fruit. It really is up to you how you want to organize your data. So with this, what I'm going to do is just simply go ahead and take a measurement by clicking the measurement button. And I'll explain what all these things on the screen mean after I've taken a measurement. So as we're taking this measurement, there's a couple things I want to explain about what is happening right now. Right now, we have it so that there's 3 scans that are being taken simultaneously, one after another, and those are all happening automatically with only one click of the button. And we're going to average those 3 scans to get the result for the side. And so this is set to, by default, to do these 3 scans, and it's also set by default to do 2 sides of the avocado. Now, while these can be any 2 sides, what we recommend is that you actually scan the dorsal side, which is this side right here. You see your stem, and then you see your more bulbous end here. This is the dorsal side, and then the second side being the ventral side. So 180 degrees from each other. This is how we recommend it. So I just did the dorsal. If I turn it 180 degrees, we'll do the ventral scan. And now it's going to do another series of 3 scans, one after the other automatically, and use the average of those scans. The reason that this is the default is that this is going to give us the most accurate possible measurement. Now, this workflow might work well for some of you, and for others, you might think this is too long of a time to use to measure. And I'll show you in a second how you can adjust these settings from the default so that it fits your workflow specifically. So now that this fruit has finished scanning, we have a couple different things we can see on the menu here. We have an average dry matter value for the fruit. We have the dry matter value for the first side, the dry matter value for the second side. On the left, we have the bin number is underneath that, fruit 1 of 2. And then there's a progress bar that actually shows it's half filled now. So if I were to scan my second fruit, that progress bar would be completely filled white. And then this value is going to be the average value for the entire bin. So from here, if I wanted to, say, adjust some of those settings that I was just referring to, I would click the left arrow. This takes me back to a summary screen. So if you wanted to view summary statistics for your screen, this is, or for your bin, this is where the screen that you would look at. There is a variety of different statistics here, including standard deviation, the minimum and maximum values within that bin. There's also a pretty neat little feature on the bottom here. This is going to let you know what percentage of fruit within your bin are greater than a of established value that we call the maturity criteria. Right now it's set at 21 dry matter. You can also adjust that to be whatever number you want. So you can actually have this instrument tell you exactly how many fruit you scanned were above a certain threshold. So going back left again would take us back to the menu where we can view our bins. We can create another new one. We can go back and view other bins. But I wanted to show you how we can actually change our settings, default settings. We're going to go down to options. And here's where we can change all those different things that we were just talking about. So on top, so what we were talking about was the number of sides per fruit. So we could say you only want to scan one side of the avocado. If you navigate into this, you can say I only want to scan one side. You could say I want to scan 4 sides or 3 if you really want. So if you wanted to change this, you would just change it by scrolling up and down. Press the right arrow to save that value, and then it takes you back to this menu. The number of scans per side, that was the 3 automatic scans that were taken per side. If you don't want to do 3, if you only want to have that set to 1, you can set that down to 1, press the right arrow, save it. Now it's only going to take 1 scan per side. The maturity criteria, that's what I just talked about, that was set at 21. You can change this to whatever value you want. So if you want a statistic that says X% of my fruit that were scanned were greater than 18, you could change it to 18. You could change it to whatever value you want. The left arrow always cancels out of the menu, so you just click the left arrow to get back to the previous. Going back up really quick, our bin prefix. So I keep referring to bins, and I mentioned that it was just a arbitrary grouping of fruit that you're measuring. You can change this to be whatever word you want it to be. So right now it says bin 1, bin 2 for all those bins. You can change this to say whatever you want it to say. So if you needed to organize it by tree or row or field, you could change it to any of those words. If you also already have names for certain orchards or names for certain or naming schemes that you have, you can just easily set this value to be that name, and so then you can more easily organize your data. So I'm going to click left to go back here. Tags, this is another new feature with our new app-based instrument. Tags are metadata tags, and so this is what you can also use to help organize your data. So if you have certain treatments or certain other things you want to keep track of alongside these scans, and then you can easily input this here. So you can put things like the name of the person who was taking the scans. You can also add in things like the temperature it was that day, or other metadata that you might want to track alongside this data. You can easily include that in this metadata tag section. The last thing I want to discuss quick is this measurement offset feature. So as I mentioned, we have this coring tool that comes with the device. In some cases, you might find that the instrument needs to be calibrated so that it reads more accurately to your fruit. And in those cases, what happens is you typically need to set a offset, which is just a bias correction for the data so that it aligns more correctly with what your current analytical method is. So to enter that value, you simply have to go into this measurement offset, dry matter, and then you can enter the offset value here. If you are concerned about accuracy of your device and you think that the offset, if you currently own a device and you're currently worried about the accuracy, then you can feel free to reach out to us through our support portal, and we'll be happy to help walk you through this process to ensure that your device is properly calibrated and tailored to your fruit. So this was all within the options menu. And if I go down to archive data, this is a part of a workflow that you might want to establish. Archive data is simply a feature that takes all the existing data that is in your bins. So if I go to select bin, I see I have bin 1 and bin 2. All of this data that lives right now on the device, if I wanted to archive it before I moved on to the next day of work or the next field, if I was transporting the device and I didn't want to cross my data on accident, what you could do is just simply archive the data. And what that's going to do is it's going to send all of the data to a special archive folder on the SD card. And when you do that, it no longer is able to be edited on the device. So it can't accidentally be deleted or accidentally be manipulated in any way. So it's a really good feature for certain workflows where, for instance, if you're on one orchard, you're taking samples and you're moving on to the next orchard, it would be a good idea to just to archive first orchard before getting to the next orchard so that you don't accidentally end up crossing your data at some point. So that is a great feature. You simply click the right arrow to actually move it all to the SD card. I don't want to do that yet because I still have more I want to show you. So I'm going to click left out of this menu. What I want to show you is if I go back to select bin and I go into, let's go to say this pre-existing bin that was already in the instrument. If I go into here, it takes me first to that summary screen that you saw where it has the 100% of fruit greater than 21 dry matter is what it's telling me. It's telling me the standard deviation, my min and my max values. It's saying that only 4 of 5 of these fruit were actually completed. Let's see if I can get this thing to refocus a little bit better for you guys. There we go. So it's saying only 4 or 5 fruit have been completed. I'm going to press the right arrow and it's going to take me back to this screen where I was actually taking the measurements. So I can actually go back to any bin and browse any of the fruit that I had previously measured. I can also go in and delete if I happen to know that I messed up on a certain fruit. So right now it's on fruit 1. Say I know for a fact I accidentally messed up on fruit 2. And I want to actually get rid of this fruit. If I click the I can either delete the side A, side B, delete the whole fruit, or delete the whole bin. So if I needed to delete this fruit, I could just click delete fruit. And then it's going to get rid of fruit number 2 is what I chose. So now it's saying fruit 2, side A, and side B, both empty. The fruit itself is empty. And it's also showing now that only 3 of 5 fruit have actually been completed on the left side of the screen. So it's keeping track and letting me know that I can, now I can go back and actually retake the scans. So if I wanted to, I could retake the scans for this. If I can get the avocado to sit right on the table for me. And so this is useful, like I said, if you make mistakes, it's easy to go back into your bins and redo scans, redo whatever you need to do to redo or to make sure that your data is accurate, essentially. And then the next thing that I'm going to show you after this is done taking a scan is going to be actually how to take the data off of this instrument and put it then onto our computer and to actually analyze it and look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more scan to make sure that this fruit is actually completely scanned. And then I'll show you exactly how I take the SD card out and insert it into my computer, and I'll show you what the files look like on the device from the device onto our computer. And as I mentioned, all these settings that are defaulted on the instrument, and as you saw, they can all be manipulated and changed to whatever fits your specific workflow. That it was the thought behind this new and improved user experience. Really quickly though, before I show you the SD card, there is a device options menu. So if I went back to this main screen, I clicked right to view the main menu. There is this device options menu. If you do need to turn your GPS on or off, adjust the date and time, just kind of the basics of operation here. You can turn off the sounds or the backlight, turn those on and off. You can change your language. So we have English, Spanish, Portuguese, Hebrew, and Mandarin. We also do have some options for uploading directly to data servers and fruitmaps.com. Those are a little bit out of the scope right now of this current training, and they will have their own kind of separate training to utilize these features. But just do know that we do have the capability to wirelessly also transfer the data from this device to either a dedicated server or to our Fruit Maps application online, where you can actually do all your tracking of your harvest. So the number one thing to keep in mind is whenever you remove your SD card, the instrument must be off. So always power the instrument off before removing your SD card. If you don't, it can cause issues with corrupt SD cards, which then will cause issues with the instrument's performance. So I'm just simply removing the SD card by pressing down, and then it ejects it partway, and then I can just simply grab it like that. And now I'm going to put it into my computer, and I'm going to switch my camera so that I'm sharing my screen with you, and you can see the data that I'm pulling out. So give me 1 second while I switch my cameras. All right. I'm going to exit out of my PowerPoint here, and I'm going to show you where on your Windows Explorer you can access your data. So I'm simply in my file browser, what I also call Windows Explorer, the File Explorer. So here I'm viewing my USB drive D drive. So this is the SD card that I have plugged into my computer from the device. And this is the root menu of that SD card. Here, there's three different things. One is the actual application. This is the file where all the chemometrics models are stored, the UI, everything that is actually displayed on the instrument, and the computing aspect of the instrument is all stored on this app. So it's actually very simple to update the application on your device whenever we release a new update. You simply just have to put this file, a new file, onto your SD card and delete the old one. As far as viewing your data is concerned, that is where this app log text document comes into play. So if I were to open this, I would be able to see here a screen that shows essentially just a text document, but it is column delineated. So it is actually, if you paste this in Excel, you would get like separate columns for each of these data inputs. This is how you can easily view all your predictions. So your dry matter predictions are on the right here. And since my GPS was off, I actually have, let me adjust the size of this really quick. Since my GPS was turned off, I don't have latitude, longitude coordinates, which are these 0 values here. But I do have my dry matter values for all the data that I had taken previously. So this is for every single scan. You'll notice that these are the triplicate scans. So I have each set of 3 is each of those triplicate scans that were taken for each side. So this is side, one side, this is another side, and so on and so forth. And you can tell that as well by, it says it's separated by bin, fruit, side, scan. So side 1, side 1, side 1, scan 1, 2, 3 for side 1, 1, 1. And so that's how you can view that. This is easily, like I mentioned, pastable into Excel, and then it's all nice and neat in columns. And then you can easily manipulate it, make graphs or whatever you need to do, or even upload it into a separate program if you need to. That's the easiest way to view your data. It also is time-stamped. All that has unique measurements IDs for each scan. That helps us keep track and troubleshoot if you ever have run into issues. There is another way that the data lives on this SD card, is beyond this text document. In this apps folder, and inside of this avocado folder, inside of this data folder. Here are my 2 bins of data that I collected. Here's that bin 1 with those 4 fruit. Inside of these lives both of the sides. Inside of these folders lives the 3 scans. You, as a user of this device, should never need to access these unless you are in contact with someone at Felix Instruments who is requesting them from you. Otherwise, there is no need for these data files to be accessed. It is important that you keep them and hold on to them for troubleshooting issues, potentially, but it is not something you can't simply just view the file. There is a special file that we use in our model building processes. So if I go back to the root menu, all you really need to be concerned about is your Avocado app log text document and the actual .app file. Those are the 2 most important things on this SD card that you should be concerned with. As I mentioned, when you're trying to update your instrument, the Felix Avocado app is the file that you would change. I just want to show you really quick where you would find updates for the website, or sorry, for the Avocado Quality Meter. It would be on our website. So if I go to the Felix Instruments homepage, I can actually go to the Avocado Quality Meter instrument page here. And from here, what I can do is go to software. And so if I click software, you'll see there is, right now it says firmware update tool instructions. So this will actually are instructions to help you update firmware. This is an older version of the Avocado model. Here's the actual firmware update and the new and improved artificial neural network Avocado app. So this is what you would want to download. These are the instructions you would want to download. So the instructions would look like this, and the actual firmware update tool would be located in your downloads file as a zip. Essentially what that looks like, and I can show you here, is this folder here. This has an updated app file. So this is the file that I would simply copy and paste onto my SD card, and then I would delete the old app file. This tool is to update the firmware. And so when we update the firmware, what that means is that sometimes we have to update the actual software that's kind of hard-coded on the instrument itself in order to allow for these new updates to the models, to the app files, and with these new UI experiences. And so when you update your firmware, that is when you have to actually access this application. It'll always be available. Anytime we have a new one, they'll be available on the website. And so when you go to open the firmware update, it's going to require you to kind of bypass probably your security measures because it's probably not a familiar executable file. And really this process, if I start my video again here, just to show you really quickly how I would go about updating the firmware. On the top, remember I pointed out that USB mini port. What I would do is I would use this black cable that comes with it to actually connect my device to USB to my computer, directly to my computer. And I would then run this firmware update tool. And I would just do update firmware on existing device. And it will walk me through actually the steps involved with updating the firmware. It's a very quick process. I'm not going to do it on this device simply just for time constraint reasons. I just don't want to have to go through that process with you guys right now, but it's a very simple process. There are a couple things that you need to be aware of when you're doing this process. However, one, I already said it, but want to reiterate, you need to connect the USB directly to your computer. Sometimes when you use what we refer to as like a dongle or auxiliary USB port, then occasionally it won't recognize the device. So it is best to plug the device directly into a USB port that is directly on your computer. And the other thing is that if for some reason your firmware gets hung up when you're trying to upgrade it, don't panic. It won't completely erase your old firmware or anything like that. You can simply get in contact with our support team and we'll help walk you through it over a video call. It's not it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that firmware update tool since we're not actually updating it. And the last things I wanted to show you really were a couple of good resources for accessing, support and things like that through our website. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of good resources in the actual product page for the F-751 Avocado. So here is where you can find the manuals. So we have English and Spanish manuals. Here's where you can access, as you saw, the software, all those, whenever we have updates. You also can contact support. So there is frequently asked questions on our page here, but then you can also just go to our support portal on the right here, and you can open a support ticket. So when you open a support ticket, that will notify us that you have a specific question about your instrument that you currently own. And that way we can address your problems directly and specifically. We also are available for, if you require it, other services like group trainings, more premium services like group trainings and individual one-on-one trainings. Every instrument does come with a free 30-minute training session with a application scientist or myself, and we will make sure that you can get off on a good start with your avocado quality meter. And so kind of to wrap things up, I just kind of wanted to show you a couple troubleshooting things that might help you in the case of an error or a bug. The number one is if your screen freezes. So if for some reason something happens and your screen just decides to freeze up and nothing's happening, the best way to exit out of that is to hold the power button down for multiple seconds, about 8 to 10 seconds, until you see the screen kind of start to fizzle away. And then you can let the power button go, and that will just do a hard reset of the device. And then if you power it back on, you can resume from there. If you're running into issues with any sort of model issues where all of a sudden your predictions look weird or something out of nowhere started happening with your actual prediction values, then that sometimes can be an indicator of an SD card issue. And so what sometimes it can happen is that a corrupt file can be written to the SD card. Just all it takes is like one corrupt character to corrupt the whole SD card. And so what I would do in that case is actually back up your SD card and then go and format it. And so what that does is do like a hard wipe of the SD card, gets rid of any sort of potential corruptions. And then you just need to reload the app file back onto the SD card and nothing else, just the app file. And then you can start from fresh again. And then it should help eliminate a lot of those issues. Some things that if you get in contact with support, we might ask you to check are things like, is the lamp on? Is the shutter opening and closing? And so when I mean lamp on, what I mean is when you click the measurement button, do you actually see a light coming out of this instrument? If you would never see a light coming out of it, then there's an issue. Another thing that I just mentioned was the shutter. So you see this metallic circle here. If you never hear that or see it move away from this where it is right now and disappear, then that's another issue of the shutter not being able to move properly. something might be wrong with the motor or something like that. So those are just some pretty common errors. Another one is, and which is, it's just one of those ones that sometimes it's just a goofy, you slipped up and just forgot, but this battery cap, make sure it's always tightened. If it's even slightly loosened and loses contact with those batteries, then you're going to be not able to turn your instrument on. You're going to have power issues. Or if it's just slightly ajar, and loose, and it's, every once in a while when you bump it, it's coming out. That might be the reason why you're having periodic power issues where it randomly shuts off. So there's a whole bunch of things, little things like that you just want to double check before you start going out in the field to take your measurements. Is that make sure your battery cap's tightened, make sure that everything is looking like it's scanning properly, just to double check before you get out in the field. And those are just some general troubleshooting tips. And if you have, like I mentioned, specific issues with your instrument, please feel free to reach out to our support and we will get in touch with you to make sure that those get resolved. So let me pull up, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this screen. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint here. So I walked you through basic operation, just showed you all the things that come with the device, walked you through all the menus there. We talked about how to update the instrument, how to access the data, how to update the apps, and also how to update the firmware. Some general troubleshooting tips, how to get to the support that you need whenever you need it. And so the last thing really that we need to discuss is some question and answers that you guys might have in the Q&A, as well as talk about if you are one of the few on this call that don't already own a device and you're interested to learn more about it, please click the tiny URL in the chat that our moderator is posting so that you can receive a quote. You can get pricing information as well as brochure information about instrument specifications. You can sign up for our published papers campaign so that you can actually see what people have used it in publications, or even check out who's using it in the industry. If you are interested in just following us and seeing what kind of new products we're developing, we're in the process of a lot of cool new stuff in the pipeline for this year. 2022 is going to be a great year, and we're looking forward to releasing some great new products. So if you want, you can give us a follow on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. You can always feel free to visit our website. That's where we do most of our updating on new product development. And then also, not necessarily in this time, but maybe when the pandemic starts to clear up a little bit, if you're in the area and you would like to come do a site visit, then you can always feel free to stop by once things are a little different in the world. But yeah, I hope that this has helped enlighten some of you on the operation of this device. This update that you just saw, the menu structure that you just saw, all that new UI, that is going to be available to all of you who have an instrument currently here soon in the coming weeks. And we will make sure that everyone gets notified when that release is available so that you can update your instrument and make sure that you're using the latest and greatest as far as your F-751 Avocado Quality Meter is concerned. So with that being said, I would like to address our Q&A. So it looks like we have some questions in the Q&A box now. The first question is from Dr. Jorge Asuna Garcia. Dr. Asuna, it's great to see you on the call. His question is there an updated version able to take the 3 measurements and get the average value? So yes, absolutely. As you saw, the 3 measurements are always averaged on the device itself. If you want to, as far as the data is concerned, if you want to pull that data, because it gives you individual scan data in that app log text file. If you pull that text file and you want to average them yourself, you can do that as well. But the device does it can average 3 scans, it can average 4 scans, it can average however many scans you want. And then it also does averages for both sides of the fruit. It also does averages for the whole bin. So you can get all those insights in one there. The next question is from Darren Johnston. It's, is the menu navigation on the kiwi the same as the avocado? This UI that you saw here, yes, it is kind of a universal UI. It's not going to be 100% exactly the same because of the default settings. So when the default settings for the kiwi fruit meter are not going to be the same as the default scan settings for the avocado. So it won't be like for kiwi fruit, it's only 1 scan per fruit. But for avocado, as you saw, we were doing the 3 scans per 2 sides. So the default will look a little different, but as far as being able to still manipulate it in whatever way you want, yes, that'll all still be the same. The next question from Lawrence Smith is hi, and I would like to say hi back. So thank you, Lawrence. The next question is, what difference in reading would you expect to get if instead of dorsal ventral scans, you take scans from the other 2 sides, i.e. at 90 degrees dorsal? Great question. So actually we have a good infographic in the manual that helps explain the distribution of dry matter within an avocado, because it is extremely heterogeneous. It can vary up to 14% depending on where you scan. So that's why the location of the scans are very important. The reason we chose dorsal and ventral is because number one, those are the 2 sides that when you average them give you the most, I guess, reasonable average for the entirety of the avocado. But number 2, they're also just easily distinguishable because of the way an avocado grows. So it's easily to distinguish which side is dorsal, which side is ventral. But we found that when you average those 2 scans, those 2 sides, it gives you the most robust average as far as if you were to sample destructively this entire fruit, all the flesh from it, and dry it, then this gives you, the dorsal and ventral scans give you the most accurate, I guess, average that compares to just, destructively testing the entirety of the flesh of the fruit. So that's a good question. And to answer your question, when you take scans on the 90 degree sides of the fruit here that are not the dorsal and ventral, then you can expect, you can always expect differences that are anywhere from 2 to 5% dry matter sometimes. That's why the averaging is so important. You can't just expect to take a single scan and expect that this spot here is representative of what's going on in the whole fruit. You got to take 2 sides and average those together. So great question though. Thank you for that. The next question is, can we check quality parameters of fruit on the tree to check maturity? Absolutely. So that's one of the use cases for this device, is that you can simply hold this up to a tree that has an avocado hanging from it and simply just take a scan while it's hanging there. The next question is, does the device work without the SD card, or does it have internal storage? So no, it does not work without the SD card. The SD card is the storage. There is no built-in storage on the device itself. It relies on the SD card. So on that note, you can also use a different SD card if you want, that has even higher capacity, if you didn't want to have to take the data off the SD card. But I will also mention, these files are very small. These SD cards can hold thousands and thousands and thousands of scans. So you really shouldn't let that many scans accumulate on your SD card without saving them to your computer and backing them up anyways. I don't necessarily see the need for a really huge SD card storage capacity. The next question is, can we measure bricks, firmness, pH, and internal color with the same quality meter? So the built-in model for the avocado quality meter, it only measures dry matter. Does not measure those parameters that you just listed. However, those parameters are possible to measure with this technology. It would just require that you create your own model using our F-750 research unit. So the F-750 produce quality meter can be used to actually create models. So if you needed those parameters for avocado, you could actually use that device to build the models for bricks, firmness, pH, and internal color. I will say one, pH is difficult to measure with NIR spectroscopy. And so you might encounter difficulties with that. But the F-750 does have the ability to use the dry matter model as well on that. So if you wanted the dry matter as well, you could still use the model that on the F-751, on the F-750, and then also additionally build those bricks, firmness, and internal color models if you needed to. The next question is there anything going on in terms of calibration development for different varieties of avocado or strengthening the current model? Great question, Darren. Yes, we are actively and continuously updating our models with partners across the world. So right now we will be working on updating our model throughout the year with data that has been acquired from multiple different countries with multiple different cultivars, so that we can meet the demands of our customers. We have a lot of interest in people using it on more green skin varieties of avocado, so and the smooth skin avocado. So that's something that we are pursuing actively right now. And as I mentioned, we do these model updates, and so whenever those become available, we will always let our customers know. Next question is from Lydia. What destructive method would you recommend for obtaining accurate calibration? I think the method itself is not as important as the sampling of the avocado. So as you can see, this is a spot measurement tool, right? It's a circle, it's taking a measurement. A cone of light is shooting from the instrument into the avocado. And so it is most important to use this coring tool and actually take core samples where the scan was taken. So if your scan was taken right here, I would take a core sample from this using the coring tool. And so that is more important than the method itself, I would say, but at the same time, I believe that using a forced air oven or dehydrator is going to be more accurate than using a microwave, mostly because you risk burning with the microwave. And actually, someone you might want to reach out to that has done some studies about this is Dr. Asuna, who is on this call. And so he's actually done some comparisons before looking at how the microwave method differs from the oven method. And I believe, and Dr. Asuna, you can correct me if I got this wrong, but I believe there was on average a 2% difference in dry matter when you were doing it in the microwave versus in the oven. So it can easily be influenced by that. I recommend using a forced air oven or a dehydrator, and then using the core tool as the best way to do it so that it aligns properly when you do the calibration. The next question from Dr. Asuna is, can I take scans with only one side of the fruit? Yes, you absolutely could. If you wanted to only do one side, you absolutely could only do one side. You can easily change that in the customized in the menu in the bin options menu that I showed you. We just have it set default to do two sides with rescans. So those are just defaults. Those can always be changed to fit the user's specific workflow. So whatever you want it to do, it can do. Next question is, models are transferable from 750 to 751, and do we offer model development services, or can we purchase models, or can we otherwise purchase models? So yes, so any models that we develop for the 751 are also available on the 750. And the 750 is, as I mentioned, our research-based unit. We are going to be offering model development services. If you are interested in a model development service, please reach out to us. We can put together a proposal and discuss it further with the details of your specific project. And as far as purchase of models, stay tuned. We will be releasing some information regarding models, services moving forward here in the near future. So in the coming weeks, you'll likely see an announcement from us regarding purchase of models and all of that, that kind of information. And the last question here is there a calibration tool that measures the accuracy of the return from the lamp? For instance, other NIR technology uses polystyrene to zero the lamp return. So there is a built-in calibration within this device. So that's that shutter. As I mentioned, there was that metallic circle that you see is actually part of a shutter system that was developed. So nobody has to do any sort of external calibration. It is always automatically internally calibrating itself on every scan. So there's nothing that the user has to do on their end to do the calibration. It's all internal, built-in automatic on the instrument itself. So that was another great question. Thank you. And it looks like that is the last one. So as I mentioned, if you have issues with your specific instrument, you have more questions, feel free to reach out to our support team. You can also book a time to have a consultation with myself, our application scientist. We can discuss if you are still kind of on the line about whether or not this technology is going to be appropriate for your application. We are more than happy to talk to you about that. And also, if you are interested in pricing, please click the tiny URL link that is in the chat function. And I just want to thank you all for being here today while I gave you this short training about how to utilize the F-751 Avocado Quality Meter. And please be on the lookout for more live trainings here in the future. We're going to be doing more of these moving forward. And as I mentioned, some that are going to be more tailored specifically towards our other products or other applications like fruit maps and other things like that. So looking forward to it, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for attending.